guys, this is Jennifer Seymour, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about trigger control. So first off, I want everyone to know I've got an unloaded gun. It's clear, no magazine in. The biggest thing with trigger control is isolating the movement to only your finger. I'm not very great at that. For some reason, my trigger finger likes to have helpers, and it thinks these three fingers should help it pull the trigger, and that is not the way it should be. So whenever pulling the trigger, this finger should pull straight back. It's like there's a string from the pad of my finger going out the back strap of the gun, and it's like the string just pulls that finger straight back. It shouldn't go to one side or the other. There should be no movement this way. It should only go this way. This part of your finger should not move. So just the top part of your finger is all that moves. This should be still. What a lot of people do, and I'm guilty of, is as you pull the trigger, you'll grip the gun. Partly thinking about the recoil that's about to come and you're trying to keep the muzzle down, but people will end up grabbing the gun like this, and that makes your entire hand tense up, and that finger won't isolate the movement. Then the whole hand moves, and when the whole hand moves, the whole gun moves. And so if you're pulling, the whole gun will dip a little bit. Whenever I hold my gun, I actually don't have my trigger finger along the frame of the gun. This is how I shoot. There's a gap right there so that that finger is free to move without moving the rest of my hand. For trigger reset, when you pull the trigger, the gun will fire if it's a live round. And so you can just go till the reset where there's a click, you feel it and you hear it, and then you can immediately pull the trigger again. You don't have to come all the way off the trigger. You can just ride the trigger up to that click, and then you can immediately pull the trigger again. Dry fire at home is very simple. You can sit and shoot at the zombies on TV if you want with an unloaded gun. Or I take Post-it notes. I don't really watch TV, so I take Post-it notes and put them all over the house. My husband wants to know why we have Post-it notes everywhere, but it's okay. So you just take a Post-it note and you put the sights on the Post-it note and try to keep the sights there as you pull the trigger. Watching the sights through the entire trigger pull, if the sight dips, then you are definitely pulling the gun down. So you can pull the trigger and there should be no movement at all. It should stay completely still. Now, I got to where I was pretty good at that. It didn't move, I did fine, and then I'd go to the range and I still was shooting low. It's because my brain knows when I'm shooting a live round that that gun is going to have muzzle rise. I don't want it to move, I want to keep it there so I can shoot fast to shoot the next target. Subconsciously, my brain is saying it's gonna rise, you need to make it not rise. So one way to do that, to see if that's what you're doing, is a ball and dummy drill. So the ball and dummy drill is probably one of my favorite drills. It probably made the biggest difference in my shooting of any drill I've done. You take a magazine and have a friend load it for you. I'll usually give them like 15 rounds and 5 dummy rounds and ask the guy behind the counter at the range, hey, will you load this for me? Whatever order. Randomly put them in there. What that does is your brain thinks that the gun is going to fire. So you're ready for a gun to actually fire. So if you're going to anticipate, and if your brain is going to do that, oh, hold the muzzle down, then it will do it even when it's a dummy round. So when the dummy round comes, the gun does not fire, but you'll see the front sight. If it dips or if it moves one side or the other, you'll be able to tell what you're doing when you're actually firing the gun. It was the biggest thing that made a difference for me, because I could see, and I could do 3 magazines like that, and by the third one my groups were much better, because I learned what I was doing. I started thinking more about not anticipating the recoil, and I got more comfortable with it, and I just did better. It helped me with my trigger control. So doing those drills should greatly improve your trigger control, and also let you know, it'll diagnose kind of to you what you're doing whenever you pull the trigger. Dry fire is a great way to do that. You can see what's going on with the sight, the front sight. And so get your Post-it notes out, get your dummy rounds, start dry firing, start doing the ball and dummy drill, and see if your trigger control improves a little bit.